One of the biggest mysteries so far has been the Maw itself. First, we thought it was built for the irredeemable souls. Then, we were told that no one is actually sent there. Then we were said that some are. You have first one artifacts there, it was the prison of the jailer, but ended up being his own little kingdom, which makes you wonder why is he even called the jailer. Luckily though, through the new book, we received some really spicy new information that clarifies quite a few of these points. So let's take a look at what the Maw is, who created it, and why is Zovaal called the jailer. If you ever wanted to record your raids, arenas, Mythic Plus, check out Squad OV. The app records itself without a click of a button. You can see complete encounter stats, spell visualizations, analyze performance, and you can also watch your friend's perspective. Best of all, you can do it from anywhere just from the web app. Use the link in the description to check out the sponsor Squad OV completely free. In the initial lore, all of us thought that the Maw was the Warcraft version of Helm, and those souls that cannot be redeemed are just sent there, they're just thrown there. We also thought it was the prison of the Vanished One, but throughout the expansion, all of that kinda got flipped upside down. Before we get into the Maw itself, let us look at the most recent confirmed information that can actually explain this. So, just about a month ago, we learned that Zovaal was the original Arbiter of the Shadowlands, and I'd wager that he was also the main Eternal One. Now, at some point he figured out that he's imprisoned in a First One mechanism, and he sought the sigils of the other Eternal Ones so that he could find the Sepulchre and undo this mechanism. The Eternal Ones didn't want to join him, so he tried to take them by force, but instead they defeated him. Then Primus carved those runes into his skin, which is just domination magic. They stripped all his anima, banished him into the Maw, and in his place created the artificial arbiter, of course with his anima. It was a lot less passionate, but a lot more just. On the other hand, we have the second crucial key to the puzzle, and that is the Eternal Ones. I'm not really going to repeat what I said in every video thus far. If you want more detailed info, check out some of the most recent videos I did. However, the book says a few interesting things. First ones are the shapers of the cosmos, the progenitors. They are the seventh cosmological force, and they brought on a balance upon the universe. Now, new info here is that apparently there is a prioritization in their work. The first ones balance the cosmos in a cycle, but the most important cycle is that of life and death, and there are also lesser ones such as order and disorder and light and shadow. We don't know whether the first ones are still around, but we know that they shaped some of the Shadowlands, quite large portions of it. For example, they created 4 different cities: Baranet, Nirem-An, Oribos, and Kortia. 2 of these you're already have seen and you're definitely familiar with. So how does all this info really relate to the origin of the Maw? What we currently know about the realm is that it is supposedly inescapable, a place of no redemption and no hope, literally just the embodiment of misery. However, what is interesting is that the brokers say that even those with the tiniest chance to atone for their sins are sent to Revendreth, and apparently there are also other afterlives for punishment within the Shadowlands, which brings us to the question, is the Maw even supposed to be a thing in actual realm, or is it literally just a prison dimension? So, the brokers themselves believe that the Maw was actually crafted by the first ones, as the records indicate that, and it has always been there. But interestingly enough, they wonder why first one waystones, such as the one to Oribos, exist within the Maw. If this is really the case that the first ones created it, it doesn't really mean that the first ones created the realm you're all familiar with. They may have just shaped the bounds of it. This bit is 100% confirmed by Blizzard. The Maw that you know as this fiery hell place was actually created by the jailer. We know for a fact that a realm was destroyed that entered the atmosphere of the Maw, and it got burned, and then the jailer just pulled chains into it to build a landmass. It is also thought that he stole other bits and pieces of landmass from various realms, and as you have also seen, he managed to pull in Kortia, one of the 4 cities I just mentioned. However, the center point and the key of the Maw is, as you may well know, Torghast. What if Torghast is the answer to this question? here is my current speculation based on the information that we currently have. What if the first ones did create the Maw, but not in the manner that it is currently in? First ones knew that other cosmological forces will invade Shadowlands, which is why they created Maldraxxus to defend. So what if the Maw was originally a prison realm, exactly the same how Sargeras had the planet of Mardoom and he imprisoned all the demons there that he faced off against. Additionally, it could have also been a failsafe mechanism similar to the ones created by the Titans of Azeroth, or just a blank slate realm that could be used for anything if the Eternal Ones saw that a need arose. However, what is certain is that the Maw originally did not look the way it does now. Brokers mentioned that there was a time when the Arbiter was not so benevolent, aka the ancient times when Zovaal was the Arbiter. Now, here is the banger. What if Torghast before was actually the Oribos of the Shadowlands? What if Torghast was the home to the Arbiter, the center of death, and the office where Zovaal did his job? Then, when he lost the war against his brothers and sisters, the Eternal Ones, they said, "Screw you and your stupid tower," and they banished him along with Torghast into the prison realm of the Maw. This would really explain everything, and it would also explain his name. Why does everyone that doesn't call him the Banished One call him the Jailer and not just the Jail? Because he was imprisoned along with the other enemies of the Shadowlands along with his tower, and he became their Jailer because they were all trapped there. Then as time went on, the Jailer turned these prisoners, who could have been anything from void, light, and demonic creatures, into the Maw Swarm. They swore to the Maw and himself, or he forced them to do so. The second is more likely. Then from his tower he started slowly chaining bits and pieces of land, and over time he created quite a kingdom for himself. Now, I'm guessing the Eternal Ones knew about this, but they thought that they were completely safe. I'd say they were pissed off at him, so they told him, yeah, you can go ahead and arbiter these losers cut off from the rest of the universe forever, because you definitely will no longer be in the center of all the anima flow of the Shadowlands. Now, in regards to the question why there is a first one waystone in the Maw, I see two scenarios. Either it was already there as the first ones built the original prison, or Zovaal pulled one of the other cities, Baronet or Niram on, and these artifacts are what remains of them. It would totally make sense the remnants you see look like Ortia, but only if like thousands of years had passed. Additionally, you know how in the raid, Zovaal managed to pull Oribos into the Maw? You know why? Because he did that to the other first one cities as well in the past. The last question is, if Zovaal was running it, who was the Jailer before? And that is a really interesting one, and a question I don't think we can really figure out an actual answer for yet. It is possible that there was no Jailer and that they just sent everyone into this bottomless pit, or that there was a figure that will play a role later down the line. What is certain though is that Oribos took the role as the center of the universe later on, and that the artificial Arbiter was built. Those guys that serve him pretend like the Banished One was never the Arbiter, but it seems obvious that they were created around the time as the computer Arbiter, so it is programmed into them to deny any other alternate reality. Thank you for watching. Check out other Sylvanas, get her memory wiped out by clicking on the screen, and also check out Doran's Academy for videos on real world history and science. See you next time.